Hi everyone, welcome to this tutorial on the basics of Excel. This tutorial is designed for beginners who are not familiar with the way Excel looks and operates. In this tutorial, we will review how the Excel ribbon is organized and how the command tabs operate in Excel. We will take a look at the Backstage command screen and briefly review how to open, save, print, and so on. Then we will look at the various parts that make up a worksheet and workbook and enter some data. And finally, we will learn how to use some simple formulas. Let's begin with the Excel ribbon. As we can see here, the commands are organized on the ribbon under what are called command tabs. When you click on each of these tabs, you will see the commands associated with each tab displayed in the ribbon. Right now I clicked on the Home tab, so you can see paste, cut, copy, format, the fonts for formatting your text, centering, aligning, and so on. The only tab that doesn't act the same is the File tab. When you click on this, you get what is called the Backstage command screen. This is the Backstage command screen. Here you can create a new file, open an existing file, save your work, print, share or export your files, and also you can change your options by selecting Options. A dialog box pops up, allowing you to customize various options in Excel. Back at the worksheet view, you can see the commands that are available under the Home tab. These commands allow us to format, cut and paste, and so on. If we click on the Insert tab, you can see the commands that are used to create tables, charts, pivot tables, sparklines, reports, and so on. The next tab is the Draw tab. This is new to Excel 2016, so you might not have this tab if you have an older version of Excel. These commands allow you to draw directly on the worksheet using various drawing tools and colors. The next tab is Page Layout. Here we can set our page margins and set how we want our output to look. Next we have the Formulas tab. Here you can see the various commands to use ready-made functions for analyzing data in a quantitative way. Some functions are simple but powerful and used often. Let's take a look at the functions listed under the sigma sign or the summation sign. If we click on the down arrow under the sigma symbol, we can see that there are additional functions we can use, such as sum, average, count numbers, min, max, and then there is an option for even more functions. The functions are grouped into logical categories. First we have the sigma or auto sum that we just took a look at. Then we have our most recently used functions, financial functions, logical, text, date and time, lookup and reference, math and trig functions, and then there are even more functions. We will talk more about functions in another tutorial video, but let's just stick with the basics for this tutorial. The next tab is the Data tab. Here we have it open and you can see the commands available to import data, sort or filter data, validate data, flash fill data, or perform a what-if analysis. An important tool on the ribbon that is found in the data grouping is the Data Analysis tool. You will need to add this in if it is not already on your ribbon. Depending on what you're using Excel for, you might want to add in the Solver tool as well. But for statistical analysis, you will definitely want to add in this tool. So how do we do that? Well, in order to do that, we'll first click on the File tab on the upper left-hand part of the screen, and remember that takes you to the Backstage screen. Next, you will click on Options. This will bring up a dialog box with more options. Look on the left side where it says Add-ins, and then click on the Add-ins choice. This will take you to an area where you can view and manage Microsoft add-ins. At the bottom where it says Manage Excel Add-ins, click the Go button. A new dialog box appears with the add-ins available. Check the ones you want to add in. For statistical analysis, make sure you add in both analysis tool packs. If you are doing financial analysis as well, then check the Solver box Add in too. Click OK and the data analysis tool should appear on your ribbon. If you don't see it on the ribbon under the Data tab, then you may have to restart Excel for the setting to be applied. Once it is added in, it will stay there unless you go back to the Excel add-in options and uncheck the boxes. So you only have to do this one time to set it up. The next tab on the ribbon is the Review tab. Here we can see the commands that can be used to check for spelling errors, review and revise the worksheet, and other proofing tools. The last tab is the View tab. Here we have the commands we need to change our view of the workbook, arrange the windows, and even create our own macros. Let's go back to the Home tab. When you first open Excel, it will give you a blank workbook called Book 1. Think of it like a subject notebook, and you can see here at the bottom we have a tab labeled Sheet 1. This view is called a worksheet. Now if you want to add more worksheets, we would click on the plus sign at the bottom here, and that would add Sheet 2, Sheet 3, and so on. Think of this as a notebook with sections for different subjects. The tabs at the bottom would act as dividers. By default, they are named Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and Sheet 3, but I can rename the generic tab names for anything I want. Let's say each tab will represent a different year. So if I want to, I can rename it Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, or Year 2017, Year 2016, Year 2015, and so on. The way to do that is to right-click on the tab, and then I can rename it. Okay, let's take a look how that would be done. If I click on the plus button, I get Sheet 2. Click on the plus button, I get Sheet 3. Now I'm going to right-click on the tab, and you can see the choices here, and one of the choices here is to rename. So I can rename that sheet anything I want. I can say Year 2017, press Enter, and then the sheet is renamed Year 2017. Now let's take a look at the worksheet. The worksheet is made up of columns and rows. The columns are lettered A through Z to start, and then after Z the labels are AA, AB, AC, and so on until double Z. That would give us a maximum of 16,000 columns. The rows are numbered 1, 2, 3, and so on to a maximum of 1,048,576 rows. That's over 1 million rows. By combining each column and row combination, we get a unique reference for each cell. So for example, the cell that is highlighted with a green box around it in the first column, first row, is referred to as A1. A1 is the cell reference for the cell that intersects at column 1, row 1. That is A1. Let's take a closer look at the Excel window. Here, on the extreme top left, we see what is called the Quick Access Toolbar. This provides a quick and easy way to perform a task without having to go through the menus. For example, instead of going to File, then Save, you could just click on this icon here of a disk, and it will save your work. You can customize the Quick Access menu here. To add more commands, click on the down arrow, and you will get a pop-out menu that will allow you to customize the Quick Access toolbar. Another neat option is to customize the display from mouse mode to touch mode here. The touch mode will give you more spacing between commands in order to accommodate the width of a finger. Now let's go back to the ribbon and take a look on the extreme right where we have the ribbon display options. The ribbon display options give you more choices about what you want to show on your screen or what you want to keep hidden. This is useful if you have a small screen and you want to optimize your screen space. Going back to the ribbon, this is called the name box. It tells you what cell your cursor is in. You can also type a cell reference into it to position your cursor. This is the formula bar where we enter formulas to do our calculations. More about this in a later video. Let's take a look at how we would create a new workbook. When you first open Excel, you are in what is called the Backstage area, and you can either select a recently opened file, as you see on the left-hand side, or choose from some of these templates that are provided, or open a blank workbook. Let's click on Blank Workbook. We can start by typing in a title for our spreadsheet. As you can see on the top here, it's called Book 1 because we haven't saved it yet. All right, here in the name box it says A1, and let's start typing. So let's call this simple household budget. Now if I press the down arrow or the enter key, the cursor is going to go to A2, and you can see it goes to A3, A4, A5, A6, and so on. All I'm doing is pressing the enter key. Now I can take my mouse and reposition it to A2. Now the cursor is in A2, and you can see in the name box it says A2. And I can type here, let's make this income. And our sources of income, we're going to have regular paycheck, and we're going to have part-time freelance. Okay, and then we have total income, and then we have total income, and that will be regular paycheck plus freelance. Okay, next we have expenses, and we have rent, groceries, utilities, and then we'll have a category total expenses, and that will be rent plus groceries plus utilities. So now we have a category for total expenses, and then the last category we're going to have is a category for savings. And savings is going to be our total income minus our total expenses. Now that I've typed in all of the categories, let's go back and do a little formatting so that the worksheet looks nice. I can click here in A1 and select bold, and I can change the font to make it a little bit bigger. The ribbon in Excel works very much like Microsoft Word, so if you're familiar with Word, you'll be familiar with some of the formatting tools that are available in Excel. Okay, I have income here. I want to bold that. I have total income. I want to bold that. Expenses, let's bold that. Total expenses, I'm going to bold. And savings, I'm going to bold. So let's say we want to add a row to the worksheet between simple household budget and income. So we select a row underneath where we want to add the row. Then on the Home tab, we look to the group that is cells. This is alignment, number, styles. Here we have cells. And in that group, we have a choice of insert. So we click on the down arrow for insert, and then say insert sheet rows, and it will give us a row. That's actually the long way of doing it. I'm going to hit Control Z and show you the shortcut. Control Z is undo. You can also click on this to undo your last move. But let's say I want to insert a row. I could have done what I just did, or I can click on the row, but now I'm going to right click, and right clicking gives me the choice to insert as well, and I can just insert like that. I find that easier than going up here and clicking on cells, insert, and then insert sheet rows. Okay, but either way works. Do I want to put any other blank rows? I don't think so. I think I'm happy with the way it's formatted. One more thing, I don't like the way the categories spill over into the next column. So column A needs to be a little wider to accommodate the category labels. So let's select the column and go over here where it says Cells, Format, and let's do Auto Fit Column Width. And that will automatically adjust column A to be as wide as the longest label in that column. Longest label I have here is the title, so it gives me the width of the column to accommodate that. Okay, now we're ready to add some data to column B. I'm going to put some budget numbers for the month of January, so let's call this January. And then if I press enter and enter and enter, it'll keep going down. Tab goes across and enter goes down. All right, that's tab. This is enter. Tab, enter. We can always take our mouse and just click in a box, but it's easier to press tab and enter when you're entering a lot of data. All right, let's type in our regular paycheck for the month of January was $4,600. This is just a demonstration, obviously. Let's make our part-time freelance work $1,200, and the total income will be $4,600 plus $1,200. I can do that in my head, $5,800, but I want Excel to do that for me. So in order to put a formula there, I click into the cell and then go up to the formula bar, and I can do this one of two ways. The first way to do it would be to just add 4,600 plus 1,200, but I would never do that in Excel. I would add B4 plus B5, right? Because B4 is column B, row 4, $4,600, and B5 is column B, row 5, $1,200. So instead of saying 4,600 plus 1,200, I would say B4 plus B5, and that would give me B6. And that way, if any of the numbers ever changed in the cell for B4 or B5, it would automatically be updated in B6. Now, to write a formula, you always start with an equal sign, and then you would put the formula. Now, in this case, because we're adding two numbers, we enclose it in parentheses. So parentheses, and we can either type in B4 plus B5, close parentheses, and that will work. And I'm going to press enter so you see what happens when I press enter. The number automatically updates to 5,800. Or what I could have done, okay, I'm going to erase this. I could have clicked on these cells instead of typing in the cell references. Instead of typing in B4, I could take my cursor and highlight B4, and then put a plus sign there, and then highlight B5, and then close parentheses. So I can either highlight the cells, or I can type them in, and Excel will fill it in for me. I'm going to hit return, and it will give me the sum. Let's go ahead with our expenses now. We will type in for rent $1,200. Let's type in groceries $600. And let's type in utilities $200. Now this time, when I want to total these up, I can do it the way I did it before, which is to do each cell plus plus plus. So here I would have B9 plus B10 plus B11. Or I can use the sum function. So let's go ahead and see what the sum function looks like. So let's select B12. That's where we want the total expenses to be calculated. And in the formula bar, we type equal. Now this time, instead of typing in B9 plus B10 plus B11, let's use a simple function called the sum function. The sum function is easy. It's SUM. So as we start typing the function you can see a list of functions that come up here, and we have the sum function, and if I click on the sum function, it actually tells me what the function does. Here we have subtotal. You can see that returns a subtotal in a list or a database. Sum adds up all the numbers in a range of cells. SUMIF adds the cells if they conform to a certain condition. Let's use the sum function, so we're going to put in SUM. So we have sum 1 would be B9, and we have a range of cells. So what I can do is click on B9 and drag it down to B11 so that B9 through B11 is highlighted. And you can see up here in the formula bar it says B9 colon B11. I have to supply the close parentheses there. B9 colon B11, the colon stands for through. So it means B9 through B11. Instead of typing in B9, B10, B11, it's B9 through B11. If it said B9 through B100, then it would be B9 colon B100, and I wouldn't have to type in all of the individual cell numbers. Okay, if I hit return, then we see it calculates 1,200 plus 600 plus 200, and it returns to us 2,000. Now let's say I made a mistake and my utilities for the month was not 200 but 250. So I can correct that up here in the formula bar. I type in 250 and it corrects it here, but when I press enter, look at what happens to the total expenses. It will increase by $50. Now, I'm going to hit enter, and you see the total expenses increased by $50. Instead of taking a hand calculator and adding up the numbers in each column, I let Excel do it for me so that if any of the numbers change, the ones that are tied into those cells by formulas will also change in the same way. We can also have Excel fill in the monthly headings automatically by using what is called the fill handle. You see I typed here January. Let me just format that so it looks a little bit nicer. I'm going to bold it and underline it. Okay. You see that B3 is selected because there's a green box around it. You can also look at the name box here, and you see the name box has B3 listed in it, so I know that the cursor is in B3. If I move my mouse to the bottom right corner of the cell, you will see the plus sign, which is the fill handle. Okay, there it is. Now if I click the fill handle and drag it across the adjacent cells, May, June, July, let's go out to December. And now I'm going to release the fill handle. Excel automatically filled those cells with the contents without me having to type them. You can see some of the months don't really fit into these headings, so what I'm going to do is go under Format here and do Auto Fit Column Width. You can see they're already selected. And now we have wider columns for September, October, November, and so on. At this point, we should save our work. I probably should have saved it earlier. We go under File, Save, and then you can choose a place where you want to save it. Once you find a location to save your work, and this is just like you would do in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, we'll name the file name Sample Budget. Okay, and we can save it as an Excel workbook, and that would be a .xls format, or you can save it in any other format you see here. You can even save it as a PDF, but I want to save it as an Excel workbook, so the default is Excel workbook. Okay, and then we hit save. We can also print from the backstage area. Let's go back to the backstage screen, and we can hit print. You can choose a printer, you can change the settings, and you can preview your work over here on the right hand side. I actually don't like that. I think I want to turn this to landscape. Here it's portrait orientation. If I change it to landscape, then I have the sheet sideways and it would accommodate all 12 months. So I like that better, and then I would hit print and I would get my print copy. All right, one more thing I want to show you, and that is on the home screen, we have a Tell Me box here. Tell me what you want to do. You can say, I want to print, and it will give you the choices of what you want to do, and then I want to print and preview. Let's say I want to print one area. I can set the print area, and if I click that, it will take me to the commands that I need to set the print area. You've selected a single cell for the print area, and you can see I selected only one cell, so that's not a good idea. I'm not going to click OK. I'm going to click Cancel. And let's say I want to select this area here to print. And now I can go to Tell me what you want to do, Print Area. And we can set the print area to that. Let's say we want to know how to make a pivot table. Okay, now I can choose one of these quick commands and it will show me what I need to do, or I can go online and get more help. If you say get help on pivot table, it will take you to Microsoft Online area and you can see the various tutorials that are available. You see here I have much more extensive help topics that are available. That's it for this video. It was created as the first in a series of tutorials on Excel and was aimed at very new beginners to Excel. I hope you enjoyed this video and continue to explore all that Excel has to offer with my other tutorials. Thanks for watching.